Rev up your engines!
Barik Singh. Scotty, I finalized my divorce and I have to give my ex-wife one of our cars, either a 2019 Dodge Journey or 2020 Subaru Outback. Which one of these two vehicles should I give her and why? You're divorcing your wife, so that means I'm assuming you don't like her anymore, right? If you don't like her, give her the Dodge Journey. It'll fall apart long before the Subaru Outback. But on the other hand, if you still like her, give her the Subaru then, if you like her, and get the Dodge and trade it in on a Toyota or a Subaru. If you don't like her, definitely give her the Dodge. That'll fall apart long before the Subaru, I guarantee you that. Josh Kangan, he says, which car will last longer, a petrol or a diesel? It's a good question, but it heads on so many different variables. One, you want to buy a good vehicle. Let's say you're going to buy a petrol gasoline Toyota Corolla. That can last forever. Now let's say you're going to buy a Fiat diesel. Well, Fiats aren't that good, neither are the diesels, so I wouldn't buy that. Now, diesel engines, in theory, can last a really long time. They're strong, they're built right, they have less maintenance, they have spark plugs and blah, blah, blah. But when diesels break, they cost a fortune to fix, with the gasolines don't. A lot of it depends on what brand you want to buy versus how much money you want to spend, you know? I mean, Volkswagen diesels are pretty good diesel engines. I'm not a Volkswagen fan, but the diesel engines are really good. So, it depends on so many different variables. You got to figure that one out yourself. Ariel says, I got a 2019 Toyota Avalon, 130,000 miles. Water pump broke. I took the dealer, changed the water pump, and flushed out the coolant. Any other work I should get done? Yeah, you might as well change the thermostat while you're at it, too. Now, you don't have to worry about the timing belt. That doesn't have a timing belt. It's got a metal chain. Just change the thermostat, too, while you're at it doing that work. I'm kind of surprised that in 2019, it's only 4 years old, that the water pump broke. Was it rattling, leaking, or did they just tell you that? If they just told you that, I'd get a second opinion on that one. They usually last a lot longer than 130,000 miles in 4 years in most Toyotas. Dronia says, Scotty, I got a 2000 Acura TL. I smell a hot, burny, oily smell sometimes when I go in the cabin. And when I exit, I might smell it too. What could it be? I just got a new engine. Well, let's hope they didn't sell you a used engine that's a pile of junk or a rebuilt one. Nobody gets brand new engines for those. If you got a junkyard one, it's probably leaking oil. Or a used one, maybe it's leaking oil. Check it closely to see. Now, if you just got a new engine, when they take the old engine off, put everything together, a lot of time oil gets on the exhaust. It'll burn for a while. You gotta wait till it burns off, right? If you see it dripping on the ground and you smell it, it could be that new engine you got that's either used or rebuilt. Wasn't rebuilt right, and the gaskets are leaking. Check that closely. Rudy Gatt says, do oil brands really differ as long as they're the same viscosity and both full synthetic? Well, they shouldn't. But of course, they can. Because here's the thing. Synthetic oil is a generic word. What does it really mean? It means that regular dinosaur oil has been modified to become synthetic. They usually use either a steam process or an acid process to purify the oil. Now, the only oil that is actually fully synthetic is that pure premium platinum one, because that's made from natural gas, like in Saudi Arabia in a factory. They turn the natural gas into oil, and that is a pure synthesis because it's from a gaseous state to a liquid state. The others are always liquid. They just purify them. So, unless you're getting the pure platinum, there's so many different ways they do it. They aren't all the same. I personally stick to the name brands. You figure those big companies, if they screw up, so many people are going to sue them. Let's say Mobil made a batch of, 100,000 gallons of bad oil. There's a lot of people are going to have problems, and a lot of people are going to sue them. You get a class action suit, you win. You get some off-brand one, name you never even heard of. Good luck with getting money from them if something's wrong. Michael Sparks Lucero says, are 97 to 05 Buick Centuries good cars? What's your opinion on a 3100 V6 engine? All right, the 3100 V6 engine is an excellent engine. There's nothing wrong with the engine. The problem is the rest of the cars. GM. There hasn't been a Buick car company for decades. GM just bought the name Buick. They got Chinese ones. They don't even make cars anymore. They got SUVs, but like I say, most of those are made in China and imported over here. It's just the name. It doesn't mean anything anymore. They're okay vehicles. Those are great engines. Their transmissions are a little weakened if you're talking about a 97. It's probably all worn out by now, but they were decent vehicles. Not great, but decent. Haji says, Scotty, one of the driver's seat motors that moves my seat back and forth doesn't move while the other does. It's a worthwhile fix or live with it. Personally, I'd live with it. It's not just the motor, there's also gears. Motors, gears can break. The parts are super expensive. And I found out a lot of modern cars, they won't sell you the motor or the gears. They'll say, you got to buy the whole seat assembly, the bracket. Now, the seat itself will go on top of it, the part you sit on. But you got to buy the whole bracket assembly for like $800-900. So if I were you, put the seat where you want it. I'd leave it alone. You know, you get into a whole rat's nest when you start taking seats apart, and then you hope they got parts. Half the time they don't have them anymore for those things. T says, Scotty, good to be on a live session. Is it true 2020 and newer cars really can do 10,000 miles between oil changes? It seems odd. Well, yeah, sure, any car can. And then when it gets old, it starts burning oil. They tell you, change the oil every 10,000. Mobile even had that silly one that said, this oil you can change every 20,000 miles. It will still work, right? But it's degraded and it wears the inside of the engine. And then when the car's got 100,000 miles, it's burning oil, and they say, oh, well, that's normal. They all burn oil. Well, guess what? If you change the oil every 5,000 miles, it wouldn't burn oil. So you keep them a long time, go right ahead. Now, if you're the type of person that say you only keep your car for 100,000 miles, go ahead. Change it every 10. You're going to sell it at 100,000 miles. It'll still run okay. You won't care what happens from then on, right? But if you're going to keep them longer, change them every 5. Asher says, Scotty, do you have a temporary fix for swollen lower radiator hose? Come on now. Radiator hoses don't cost that much money, right? Change the hose before it blows up. Looks like a sausage. That means it's ready to go and blow up. Change it. Now, I mean, if you're an absolute cheapskate, get some of that black Gorilla tape and wrap it all around it. It might make it last a little bit longer. But really, come on, change the hose. Wait till the engine cools down and get a hose. Hoses don't cost that much. It blows and your engine goes, you wish you've changed it. But I mean, you could get some of that black Gorilla tape. It is the best tape. Duct tape is good, but that black Gorilla, and it's the same type. Wrap it around. Go ahead if you're that cheap, but hey, if it breaks, don't blame me. John A. says, hola, Mr. Scottster. What would be the best way to paint a car that has no dents or rust? I'm trying to paint my 2001 Mustang. It does have faded and peeling clear coat. You got fading and peeling clear coat. You got to take the clear coat off. You got to sand it down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Otherwise, if you paint over it, it'll just peel off too, right? That's just how it goes. You got primer paint on a car in the metal. Then you got various other layers. Then you have the paint color, which is flat. Then you have the clear coat, right? And if the clear coat's coming off, you got to get rid of it. You can't paint over it. That's why it costs so much money to paint a car correctly, even if it has no dents. Because the real pros that do it, they get in there with razor blades, they try peeling off. It is one heck of a job getting that stuff off. That's the main problem. Like they always say about painting, it's not the painting that's the hassle. It's the preparation, just like a house. You got a wooden house, you got to scrape all that crap off before you paint it. If you want the new paint all that, that's the paint, the actual painting. Whee, that's fun. Spray away, right? But it's the preparation that's the hassle. Hunter Count says, Scotty, what could be causing my 1985 Grand Marquis to bog down when idling? It's a carbureted 5-liter V8. Old age, it's an 85, right? Try cleaning your carburetor with carburetor spray clean. I've got video on cleaning carburetors. Justin, and watch that. Pray that does it, because if not, odds are you're going to need another carburetor. It's an 85. It's a dinosaur. Now, those old ones don't have to meet pollution requirements once they're over 25 years old. So if you needed a carburetor, you don't have to go out and buy the expensive carburetor that came with it. You can put on an Edelbrock. Edelbrock makes great carburetors. They make them for those that'll bolt right on, and it bypasses all the anti-pollution crap, which you're not going to get tested because it's over 25 years old, and you'll be a lot happier driving it with an Edelbrock. You can get those for like $200 to $300 all day long. They bolt on. Do that if you can't clean it and get it working. John Carl says, I bought an OBD scanner from my Lexus ES330. Cleared the codes. Not a lot of problems except very small leak. Will the check engine and VSC lights come back again a few days later? Probably, if you still have the leak. So here's the thing about Toyota. They have rather odd software. So no matter what, if you have a problem, in your case it'd be a very small evap leak. Try a new gas cap. Maybe it needs a gas cap, right? Try that. Once it trips that code, it automatically turns on any kind of speed control stuff you have, because it turns those systems off. It's a safety thing with Toyota that, well, the car isn't running right. It's got a code. We can't have these other systems activated, right? If you do fix the leak, the other light odds will go off. But if you don't fix the problem, that light will keep coming back on when the check engine light comes on. Just watch it closely. X70's dog says, Scotty, if I use another opening circuit relay that's not the exact part number since it's discontinued, will it be bad to use? 96 Celica. Well, here's the thing about relays. The only thing that matters is what each one of those contacts does, right? And if you look at most relays, they'll have a diagram. And as long as it's the same relay inside, you don't care. As long as it plugs in and has the same contacts that plug in and the schematic diagram is the same, it'll work perfectly fine. There's many generic ones. I often did that in the past. Like if I was working on German cars, some of their relays would be 80, 90 bucks. I could get generic ones for 12 bucks. They worked fine. I did it all the time. All they are is relays that click, open, and shut. It's just make sure it's the same circuit. And the good ones have a picture of the circuit. And you can see if the circuit's the same, it'll work. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.